This lesson is Chapter 10, Lesson 4. So we're looking at how to solve multi-step measurement word problems. So let's dive right in. Our first problem says a leaky faucet in Jared's house drips 2 cups of water each day. After 2 weeks of dripping, the faucet is fixed. If it dripped the same amount each day, how many quarts of water dripped from Jared's leaky faucet in 2 weeks? So my first thing I need to look at is I need to look at the information that I'm given. I know that the faucet drips 2 cups of water each day, it says here. It says it drips 2 cups of water each day. And it's dripping for 2 weeks. So I need to figure out the total amount of water that dripped in those 2 weeks. So I could do 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 14 times, or I could just do 2 times 14 because I know that there are 14 days in 2 weeks. That's where I got that number from. I wouldn't do 2 times 2 because that's not each day. I know that there are 7 days in 1 week. And in 2 weeks, that would be 14 days. So 2 times 14 gives me 28 cups. So 28 cups have been dripping for 2 weeks from the faucet. Now, I want to know, though, how many quarts dripped. So now that I know 28 cups, I'm going to say 28 cups equals how many quarts. So now I'm going to draw my big G. And I know there are 4 Q's inside of it. And then inside of that are my 2 P's. And inside of each P is 2 C's. And I run out of room. So there's 2 C's in each P. So I know I need to go from cups to pints, pints to quarts. So I'm going to start off with what I know first. I know 28. And I know that cups are smaller because they're inside of my P and my Q. They're smaller than the pints. So I'm going small to big. So silly babies dancing means divide. And now I need to ask myself, how many cups are in 1 pint? Well, I know that there are 2 cups, so I'm going to divide by 2. And that gives me 14 pints. But I'm not done because I need to get to quarts. So I take the number that I know, which is 14 pints, and I'm still going to divide because I'm going small to big, silly babies dancing. And I need to ask myself now, how many pints are inside of 1 quart? Because that's where I'm trying to end up. I know there are 2 pints inside of 1 quart, so I'm going to divide by 2, and that gives me 7 quarts. So I know that 28 cups is the same thing as 7 quarts. So 7 quarts of water have been dripping for 2 weeks, over the total of 2 weeks' time. Now, this problem says a carton of large grade A eggs weighs about 1.5 pounds. If a carton holds a dozen eggs, how many ounces does each egg weigh? Well, I know that a dozen eggs is 12 eggs. So my first step is to figure out the total number of pounds, and I need to figure out the total number of ounces. So I know it says here in the problem the total number of pounds, 1.5 pounds. So I'm going to start with 1.5 LB, that stands for pounds. And I'm trying to figure out how many ounces each egg weighs. Well, I need to figure out how many ounces this is first. So I need to go from big to small. Best soccer mom. So I start with what I know. Best soccer mom means multiply. And I know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. If I'm looking at my conversion chart, 1.5 times 16 equals 24 ounces. But that's for the carton of eggs. My question is asking how many ounces does each egg weigh? So I'm not done. This was only part 1. Part 2 now, I need to think about, well, if there's 12 eggs in a carton in a dozen, and the whole dozen weighs 24 ounces, how am I going to figure it out if I need to figure out how many each individual egg weighs? I'm going to start with what I know, the 24, and then since I'm looking at what each individual egg weighs, I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide by the 12 because there are 12 eggs. And I know that 24 divided by 12 is 2. So each egg actually weighs 2 ounces. So remember, when you're doing these multi-step problems, you might need to do many different conversion steps. You might need to also kind of divide or multiply it based off what the problem says. So it's super important that you are reading through the problem and you are using your conversion chart and what we have gone through.